Suppose we want to find the sum of revenue. The formula is simple. We start with equal to, of course, equal to the function name, that is sum in this case. As soon as we write the function name and open the bracket, all its constituents, the arguments, will show up. This is a short guide which we can follow to make the entries. So we can should to make the entries. So we can see here that we need numbers. Obviously, numbers will be added to get the sum. So either we can simply start writing numbers, give a comma, write the next number, or we can start writing cell names. So I'll write L20, L21 and so on. But that will be cumbersome. So let us just select a range. So here we'll take the revenue. Let us see. This is the range within the table. Let us close this and press enter. Notably, when we selected the range, it did not show a set of cells here. It instead wrote it as a column of the table 1. And this can be beneficial, especially if we add a new column or a new row. Let us see here. We can insert a table row below. And suppose here we write a 1. Look how this value has increased. So as we make new entries, such formula will itself take increases. And this is made possible by using the table, since this has considered the revenue column as a whole. The formula is similar, we just need to write average here. And we'll get the average of all the values, their sum divided by the number of entries. Here we find the population standard deviation. This is the value for it. You can also find the variance, the maximum, minimum, etc. There's one more interesting formula called the quartile. This is an exclusive quartile calculation. Quartiles will divide the data into 4 parts, just like a median divides it into 2 parts. So the second quartile is actually the same as median. So we will have to add the array again. Let us directly select it like this by clicking at the top arrow. That is a good shortcut. And then we click, and then we enter comma and put the quartile that we want, first, median or third. Let us find the third quartile by putting a 3 here, close the brackets, all arguments entered, press enter. And this is the third quartile. In place of arguments, we can also use cell names, cell addresses. For example, here, I want to select the number of the quartile from this cell. Suppose I want the third, but I enter it here. So now I'm again finding the quartile, but the number of the quartile will be selected from this cell. So we'll write this, and here we will give a fixed reference to this cell, and we'll get the same result again. There are similar mathematical formulae. I won't go into all of them now. Some other interesting formula include, let us see month first. For example, if we select this, it will show the serial number of the month, and this is the first month, hence it is shown as 1. Similarly, we can find the year as well, and also the day. The day of the month will be returned. Similarly, we can find the time as well. What we get here is the system date and time. All we write is simply now. The count function basically counts the cells which have some value in it. For example, we can use it to find the number of records. Let us apply the count here and select this. We have 50 records here. Now we can also count blank records. For this, we will use the count blank. The order ID is unique detail. Let us select this, close the bracket, and we find there are no blank entries in this. As we can see, if will check whether a condition is met and returns one value if true and another if false. That value will be set by us. But for this, we first need a test. A test will give the value true or false. Suppose we want to find with the if condition whether the revenue is above 500,000. Now we will apply the if formula. We will add the condition, the logical test. Here we select the total revenue, the cell. And if this cell is greater than 500,000. Here we have put a cell name, so we do not need any inverted commas. And the value if true. Now we want a text output. Again, we will put commas here, inverted commas. Yes. And let it be 0 if false. As you can see, the number does not require inverted commas, but the text will require it. If we write a condition separately as a text, we will again require the inverted commas. Now we put another situation here. So here we need to find if revenue exists. If it does sales also exist? Here we have two ifs, and that is a nested if case. Let us see how to use this. For ease, I have put the two values of revenue and quantity that will represent sales here, simply by equating them with those cells. If O1, which shows the revenue, is greater than 0, the value if true is that if yes, we'll check for sales. So we add another if. Now if also P1 is more than 0. Now we need to complete this condition first. As you will note, Excel is not case sensitive, be it small or big, that won't matter. So if revenue does exist, we are checking does sales also exist. If yes, that means both exist. So the value of true is both exist. This will be the output in this case. If not, it means that this does exist, but not this. So we can write only revenue. Yes. Now we'll have to close this. So one if condition has now been closed, but the outer one still remains open. We have completed value if true for it. The value if false. All we can infer from this is that O1 is 0. That means revenue does not exist. We close this bracket as well. Let us check here, both do exist. But what if we make this 0? We are overriding the formula, making this 0, and now only revenue exists. Let us see some other cases of if being applied for other purposes. We now find the sum of certain values in a range only if a criteria is fulfilled. Now in this case, I will apply a criteria on a given range of values. If the criteria shows true, we will carry out the sum. Let us see how this happens. Suppose we want to find out the revenue brought about by John. So first of all, we talk about criteria. That means salesperson John. So the range we consider is the salesperson. The criteria is, put a comma, and the cell should have the text John. This is the range and its criteria. And if this comes out to be true, the sum range where we want to find the sum is the revenue. So this is the revenue bought by John. We take out the sum of the sum range only when the other range has its criteria fulfilled. So the criteria range where its criteria is fulfilled, we'll find sum for only those rows. for only those corresponding revenues where the salesperson is John. Now in this formula, instead of writing this text, let us simply put the reference to O18 cell. So now if we write here Ramesh, we get the values for Ramesh. So it is generally beneficial to link any formula to cells instead of writing text or numbers. But you can also write a comment. You may edit it again, but this is all about cell comments. Let us now see average if. The range we are checking in is salesperson. The criteria we are taking as John here. And the range where we want now the average. The if has been defined, but average of revenue. This is the average revenue brought about by John. We want to find the records over 20,000 and let that be in revenue. We will use the count if, provide the range, and then give the criteria. So we provided the range, gave the criteria, and that is within inverted comma. And here we have got the number of entries of revenue that are above 20,000. And 30 out of 50 will be the result of that. Here we use two conditions together. Revenue must exist and sales also must exist. That is our logical test. So this is the case where we will apply the AND function along with if. Condition 1 will be that O1 is greater than 0. We'll fix the reference here. Condition 2 is P1 greater than 0. This is the test, and if this, that is these two, are correct, we will write yes. Or else value if false is no. And we have a yes here. Let's shift it here. So and/or are generally used with if conditions because its result should have a direct meaning where both conditions should be true in order to get a yes. But if we use or, any one of the two conditions, two or more conditions being true is enough to get a yes. Even if I make one of these 0 now, because I've used an or, I will still get the value as true. One last case here, that is when we apply multiple ifs within another formula, such as count ifs. We will count records that have over 20,000 revenue and also quantity over 500. So here we have applied the criteria range 1 again, and here is the criteria. Then the next range, this was criteria for revenue, here we have it for quantity. It is the same thing applied but twice, separated by a comma. And in this way we use count ifs to get the value 30. We can use the same with sum, that is sum ifs, average ifs, etc. And here is an example of sum ifs, quantity of tea sold by John. The syntax here is a little different. The sum range which was at the end in sum if comes at the start. We want to find the sum of quantity. The criteria range here, the first one is salesperson, we selected that column. What we need is John. Second criteria, product. We select product column and write T. So these two criteria get applied to this sum range. And we get the quantity of tea sold by John. Hence two conditions applied in a sum if becomes sum ifs. In this way you can check for average ifs, etc. Match function is used to find position in an array. For example, this number is at the third position of this column. Similarly, if we want to find the position of order 1037, we write equal to match. The lookup value is right here, 1037. The lookup array in which we are trying to find this is this order ID, and we need an exact match. An exact 1037 has to be found here. This is at position number 11 in its column. Now the product which corresponds to 1037 can be found using the index function. The index function can get us the value at an intersection, which means if we tell the index function which table we are looking in and then define the row and the column, it will find the value in that table, in that row, and in that column. Let us see here. When we write index, it asks for the full table here. So we will have to select from A2. We can write colon L52 or simply write table 1. We put a comma and give the row number. Now for the row number, we have already used the match function, and so we can select this or else write the full match function again. Let us use the simpler method. Select this first, comma. Now we have to define the column number. This is where we tell what we need to the index function. We are looking for the product that is in column number 7, and it is a toffee. Instead of depending on this cell, we could replace N5 by the formula in it. So this is how an index match combination will look like. We can start from any column and find the value in any other column. It goes in both directions. Here is the result. VLOOKUP, however, starts from the left and looks towards the right. It has limitations. Now we are looking for quantity sold in order 1002. That is equal to VLOOKUP. What this requires is that the table must be sorted in an ascending order. So the reference column has been sorted by me in increasing order. So we put the lookup value, that is 1002. The table array, we can write again table 1 straight away. Column index number, where we are looking for the product, or rather the quantity in this case, is the 10th column. We want an exact match here. And the value is 590. It turns out to be the second record. Indeed, it is 1002 and the quantity is 590. Let us quickly look at some financial functions now. This is the present value function. In each of these functions, we need a few arguments, and that has been given here in advance, and some other values have also been mentioned here. So before applying this formula, we must know certain values, and then we can easily apply those arguments and get the result. For example, this is the present value formula, equal to PV, rate of interest. We find that here. We click that, but the rate of interest is annual and we are considering months here, so divided by 12. The net periods is 24 months, and this is the payment. Let us see here. Here we are looking for the future value. Equal to FE, and then we apply argument similarly. NPER is the periods after which we want to find the value. That will be the future value. The payment at that time, the present value, we have assumed it as starting with 0. And the type is 1. As you can see, 1 is for the beginning of month calculations, 0 is for end of periods. So we have used 1 here. You must have certainly noticed this minus sign in both formulas. That is because D6 here is representing this value. This is the payment. Payments are to be considered negative in Excel. These are negative values. Hence, though we have not added a minus sign in this input, we must add it here. That will then get us the correct result. Or else we may add a minus here in the payment. Next we have this function, the monthly installment, which remains constant. This is even easier, just the rate, the number of periods of the complete loan till its end, and the principal value of the loan, the present when it started. Similarly, this shows the interest value, the interest in payment. That is here, rate, the period being considered, the total number of periods till the end of the loan. And here is the principal value, the value of the loan. Similarly, we apply this principal amount within the payment as well. Notably, every monthly installment will be a sum of the interest paid and the principal paid in that installment. Here we have projected it for the next month. We considered this for the first month. This as well was only for the first month, but we can project it further. We have written the same formula here again. So I just copied it here, but that would have taken all the references down. Hence I had to give fixed references to all the cells except one. And that is because I need the months from a new cell now. I cannot depend on this again. Also, as I drag this down, the month must be going down as well, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's why I have left this not as fixed E10, but fixed E and variable 10. Hence, when I drag this down, I could find the series for the next month. These are the main financial functions. They applied an if here, so if H10 plus J10 is equal to F10, if these two add up to give me this, it means it is correct. This is the interest table. It uses a simple formula. Here is the interest rate. We take this as fixed, and next to it we have written the principal. This will vary as we go down. So principal into interest rate by 1 by 12 into 1 by 12. Then we add that to the principal, we get the end of the year principal. The next year's principal will be the same as the previous year's end of year principal. So we just equate it with R4. The same formulas will now be extended to get the complete table. Concatenate helps to put together two or more cells. For example, here we have to see two different cells to understand what is being written. But suppose we want it written at once in one sentence. We will use concatenate, then select the text one or the cell, and then the next cell. In this case we take only 2, and this is what we get. Now if there is any change in any of these values, suppose we change something here, make this on, we'll see that reflected here.